Welcome to Real Transparency Talks, the series that focuses on the progress that various industry sectors are making towards decarbonising our planet and highlighting some of the companies which are really making an effort to come clean. I'm Ryan Sheppard. I have some 20 years experience in sustainability roles with companies like Thomson Reuters, Refinitiv and London Stock Exchange. And I'm here with Tim Nixon. Hi, Tim.
Hey,
Tim
Ryan.
is the CEO and founder of Signal Climate Analytics, and he's going to tell us about some very interesting analysis they've been doing for the automotive sector. But Tim, first, can I ask you a couple of questions? I've seen this term, real transparency. What do we mean by real transparency?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks very much, Ryan. As I think we all know, there's an awful lot of disclosure out there from companies disclosing many hundreds of data points. And real transparency is about disclosure of the metrics, just a few metrics that matter most to allow for meaningful comparison of a company with its sector peers, as well as assessment of how that company is actually doing compared to what the global climate policy is asking us to do, to stay under 1.5 degrees of warming. So it's about the metrics that matter most in any given sector. And these metrics do just two simple things, really. They allow for the peer comparisons within a sector. And to do that, you got to have a global, what we call a global intensity metric. So it's a metric that's normalized production from the sector. So in the auto sector, how many grams of CO2 are coming out of the pipe per kilometer traveled. So you got to have that global intensity metric. And you also got to have an assessment of the overall emissions coming out of a company's operations or products. So those two things, intensity and overall emissions, simple, two things. And thirdly, you got to have forecasting or target setting using those metrics. And believe it or not, for these simple handful of three things, normalized intensity, absolute total emissions, and just using targets that have those, less than 20% of the largest 250 global emitters disclose at that level. So we've got a long ways to go to get to the metrics that matter most. And that's what we call real transparency.
Thank you. I love the simplicity of those three metrics. And why really, in your own words, does that really matter that we have this real transparency and this simplicity?
Yeah, it matters because for these companies in these sectors that are so large and so impactful, no data is data. So when they're not disclosing, what their targets really are in a time frame that current management is accountable for, using metrics that allow us to compare them with other sector peers, if they're not disclosing their absolute emissions footprint, and like I said before, in most of these sectors, less than 20% of the companies disclose at this level, we really don't know where these companies are headed. And where they're headed, we're headed. So the stakes couldn't be higher for real disclosure, real transparency in these big carbon intensive sectors.
Great. And even if the company is being fully transparent, how do we actually know that they're really actually decarbonizing and doing everything that they can?
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. That's the other side of the coin here. You can have near full transparency, but you also got to know that a company is actually walking the walk, right? Not just talking the talk. And for that reason, Signal has developed a forward-looking metric. In other words, it tells you what we think is going to happen with a company based on past performance. And it's called the sustainability ratio, the Signal sustainability ratio. And it provides a measurement of a firm's financial opportunity on the one hand as they develop new products and services, and also on the other hand, the level of risk that it's facing from things like regulation and competition from other sector peers. So you have which is essentially a financial metric, opportunity over risk, as the company develops more sustainability related products and services, lower carbon impact products and services. So like in the auto sector, electric cars. And what we've done is we've again, just taken the auto sector as an example, we've mapped out, if a company actually fulfills its projections on the number of EVs and hybrids, et cetera, that it says it's going to produce over the coming decade, what would that company look like 3, 5, 6 years from now? And how would they compare to their sector peers? So it's that kind of forward-looking metric that tracks actual performance on decarbonization that I think makes a nice corollary with the work we're doing on real transparency.
Great. Thank you, Tim. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of this and seeing more of the industry sector analysis coming through. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking, Ryan.